Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel, and this is going to be my January/February book haul. If you watched my video in which I set up my reading goals for this year, you probably know that I'm in sort of book buying ban. As a matter of fact, I created a specific challenge for myself and I pledged to read 5 books that I already own for every single new book that I purchased this year. So besides doing that, I decided just to buy less books and be more selective about what I buy, and I purchased only a few books these past few months. Without further ado, let's just have a look at what I've got. And the first book that I have here is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. This was one of my most anticipated books of 2018. It came out in early January. Unfortunately, I have not read it yet. I cannot wait to do that. This is a book which is set in a fairy court, and our main protagonist was stolen by the fairy court when she was only 7, and her family was brutally murdered in front of her eyes. So this is a very interesting story. I've heard a lot of people say very good things about this book, and I read The Darkest Part of the Forest by Holly Black about 2 years ago, I think, and that was one of my favorite books of that year, so I'm really looking forward to reading this book. Next book was also on my list of the most anticipated releases of this year, and this is Beneath the Sugar Sky by Seanan McGuire. I read Seanan McGuire's Ever-Hearted Doorway, absolutely devoured it and absolutely loved it. It is some sort of fantasy/magical realism, I want to say, story about children that return to our real world after being sucked into and staying for some time in a fairy tale world. So this is another book in that series, and I have a feeling as if this might be even a prequel. I don't really know for a fact, but I'm very excited to have it, and I cannot wait to catch up with the series. Next is another one of my anticipated reads. You can see the trend there, and this is Sight Witch by Susan Dennard. And I read this book immediately after I got it from Indigo. I had it pre-ordered for, I don't know, like 6 months, 7 months, and I just devoured it, and I loved it so freaking much. This is a shorter book. It's probably about 50,000 words. It's more like a novella, and technically, chronologically, it's set before Truth Witch. However, I feel that just knowing everything that happened in Truth Witch and Wind Witch, I appreciate the world and characters way more after reading this book. And even though the events do happen before Truth Witch, I still would suggest that you read Truth Witch and Wind Witch, because some things that happen here kind of hint at what will happen in Wind Witch. Not directly, but after reading Wind Witch, I had a lot of questions, and they were surprisingly answered in this book. So I'm not going to say anything else except for I freaking loved this book, and I gave it 5 stars. Next, I have a book that I got immediately after reading the copy that I got from the library, and this is The Wicker King by Kay Ancrum. So this book just blew me away. This is a very interesting story. Basically, it's a story about 2 boys who are best friends and who care for each other, but one of the boys, Jack, starts to develop some sort of hallucinations. He starts seeing things, objects, and also creatures that do not belong to this world. So his best friend, August, has 2 ways to deal with it, and he chooses to believe his friend. So he also starts to act as if those things were real, and this is basically their journey. This book blew me away. I cannot wait to write a very detailed review of this book, because this book was just amazing. This book has also visual elements. There are certain photos. The pages get darker as the story progresses, and there is a reason for that. The book is written beautifully. I was absolutely stunned because this is a debut novel by Kay Ancrum, and I cannot wait to see what she writes next. I know that her next book is coming out in October, I believe, and I cannot wait just to pre-order it. This is absolutely beautiful story. It is heartbreaking, it is very real, but at the same time it has this element of magical realism almost to it, that you want to believe in whatever is happening, that it's real, and that world that Jack sees is real. And I just love this book. I cannot praise it highly enough. It is very, very raw and emotional, and I admit I kind of cried in a couple of places, but it also made me very happy. There is a short novella by the same author that I suggest that you read. It's only available on Kindle and it's free. I only suggest that you read it after reading this book because that novella will not really make much sense unless you read this first. But this is a stunning book. I highly, highly, highly recommend it to everyone. And the last but definitely not least is the Hazelwood by Melissa Albert, and this is a exclusive cover by Owl Crate. I got my Owl Crate box first time in February, absolutely loved it, and this was the cover of that book. So this book has been on my radar even before I got that Owl Crate box, but I was very excited to get a copy of this book. This is a fantasy, almost like urban fantasy slash fairy tales story about a girl who's named Alice, and she has been on the road pretty much most of her life, running from something with her mother, and then one day her grandmother, who was also the author of very famous fairy tales for children, dies in her estate, which is called the Hazelwood, and then her mother disappears. So Alice has to solve this mysterious disappearance and also probably deal with a lot of things that actually come to life from her grandmother's stories, which is freaking delightful, and I cannot wait to read it. Well, this is it, guys. This is my very quick book haul. It's probably one of the shortest book hauls I've ever done in my life on this channel. Super exciting because this time I purchased only the books that I really wanted to get, and this is a great feeling because I am excited about every single book. Please let me know down below in the comments if you read any of these books. I would love to know your opinion, and I'll see you very soon. Bye! I don't know why I started to whisper. No reason. Just no reason. Also, new lipstick. I'm sorry about my phone buzzing all the time, but I am working from home, so